Hi there, everyone. Welcome to The Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's September 11th. If over the course of the summer you found yourself driving down the road and then spying a little electric blue blossom by the side of the road, chances are you were looking at chicory. Listener Danny Perkins shared a post in the Facebook group at the end of August. He, too, had spied chicory, and he shared some beautiful photos of it. A few years ago, I used to drive the boys to St. Paul for basketball camp in the summer, and when I pulled off the freeway, there it was. Chicory, impossibly growing in between cracks in the cement along the sidewalk by the road. I went straight to my Mac when I got home and ordered seeds on the spot. The blue of chicory is positively luminescent. The plant is where chicory coffee and tea come from. Listener Diane Lydic posted this. My father used to pick chicory on his way home from work. He made a map of all the patches so he could remember for next year. Delicious with olive oil and vinegar with hard-boiled eggs. Always a treat. Well, Diane's father is a man after my own heart. Anyone who makes a map of roadside patches of precious plants is a friend in my book. Here's today's brevities. Today is the anniversary of the death of Rudolph Jacob Camerarius, the botanist who demonstrated the existence of sexes in plants. He died in 1721. Camerarius was born in Germany. He was a professor of natural philosophy. He identified and defined the male parts of the flower as the anther, and he did the same for the female part, the pistil. And he figured out that pollen made reproduction possible. His work was recorded for the ages in a letter he wrote to a peer in 1694 called On the Sex of Plants. Today is the anniversary of the death of the Spanish priest, botanist, physician, and naturalist, José Celestino Mutis, who spent almost 50 years in Colombia, where he is regarded as a national treasure for his scientific work. In the 18th century, Colombia and the area around it was known as New Granada. Given his lifetime spent in Granada, Mutis was able to leave a lasting legacy. He created an impressive library, complete with thousands of books on botany and the natural world. He also built a herbarium with over 24,000 species. Only Joseph Banks had a herbarium that rivaled Mutis, and Banks had more resources and more support from the English government. Mutis approached the job of documenting the flora of Granada in a very unique way. During his time in Granada, Mutis worked with over 40 local Creole artists. He recruited them and trained them, and he brought them to a studio where they could work all day long in silence. In short, Mutis set up a botanical illustration production machine that was unsurpassed in terms of the level of output and the level of excellence for the times. At one point, Mutis had up to 20 artisans working all at one time. One artist would work on the plant habit, while another would work on specific aspects or features. And with a group of them, they could be working on more than one plant at a time. The Mutis machine created over 6,500 pieces of art, botanical sketches and watercolors, painted with pigments made from local dyes, which heightened their realism. On the top of the Mutis bucket list was the dream of a Flora of Bogata. Sadly, it never happened. Mutis died in Granada in 1808. 8 years later, the King of Spain ordered all of the output from the Mutis expedition to be shipped back home. All of the work created by the Creole artisans and the entire herbarium were packed into 105 shipping crates and sent to Spain, where they sat and sat and sat and waited until 1952, when a handful were used in a large folio series. Then the Mutis collection waited another 60 years until 2010, when they were finally exhibited at Kew. Today, the thousands of pieces that make up the Mutis collection are housed at the Botanical Garden in Madrid. The pieces are large, mostly folio size, and since they really haven't seen much daylight over the past 2 centuries, they're in immaculate condition. Today is the birthday of the Harvard and Smithsonian botanist, taxonomist, and plant collector Lyman Bradford Smith, who was born on this day in 1904. Smith was homeschooled by his mother, but it was his mother's Aunt Cora that nurtured his love of horticulture. He went to college and pursued botany at Harvard, where he found another passion, wrestling. Smith continued wrestling into his 60s. When he started his Ph.D., Smith attempted to focus on grasses, but that didn't work because grasses required the use of a microscope, and Smith didn't have good eyesight. It was the botanist Ivan Murray Johnston who encouraged Smith to choose Bromeliaceae because they didn't require so much microscope time. When Smith married his wife in 1929, their honeymoon was a tour of European herbaria. When he returned home, Smith worked at the Asa Gray herbarium at Harvard. All through the Depression, Smith rode his bike to and from the Gray, 14 miles round trip. And he began focusing on 4 Brazilian plant families, especially focusing on bromeliads and begonias. Despite discouragement from older academics who felt that the topic of North American Bromeliaceae was too broad for a new taxonomist, Smith proceeded anyway. His work ethic surpassed most of his peers. He was known for saying, "Press it and I'll identify it." Smith was a publishing master. He wrote extensively on his signature genre. Much of what is known about bromeliads is thanks to Lyman Bradford Smith. It's his lasting legacy. And today, 21 bromeliads are named in Smith's honor. 1947 brought big changes to the Smith family after an offer from the Smithsonian to be the curator of South American plants. It was an offer that was too good to refuse: better pay, the chance to travel, and more stability. Yet Lyman brought the same work ethic and habits to the Smithsonian, riding his bike to and from the Smithsonian Castle every day until his 70s. When Lyman arrived at the Smithsonian, he hired Alice Tangerini to be the illustrator. It's a position she still holds. In Unearthed Words, all week long, the Daily Gardener is sharing quotes from the author Beverly Nichols. Today, I'm sharing excerpts from his fabulous book, Mary Hall. Mary Hall was part of Nichols' later trilogy, written between 1951 and 1956. It shares Nichols' highs and lows of renovating Mary Hall. Mary is spelled like Merry Christmas. It was a Georgian manor house located in Surrey. Nichols lived there for 10 years, from 1946 to 1956. Here are two excerpts from Mary Hall. If you're picking a bunch of mixed flowers, and if you happen to see over in a corner a small, sad, neglected-looking pink or peony that is all by itself and has obviously never had a chance in life, you have not the heart to pass it by, to leave it to mourn alone while the night comes on. You have to go back and pick it very carefully and put it in the center of the bunch among its fair companions in the place of honor. And here's this one. Long experience has taught me that people who do not like geraniums have something morally unsound about them. Sooner or later, you'll find them out. You'll discover that they drink or steal books or speak sharply to cats. Never trust a man or a woman who is not passionately devoted to geraniums. Today's book recommendation is Mastering the Art of Vegetable Gardening by Matt Mattis. When I first saw the book, Mastering the Art of Vegetable Gardening, I knew it would be amazing just from looking at the cover alone. Mattis is such a conscious competent in the world of vegetables, and his advice, along with the images, will make even an ornamental gardener want to grow these beautiful, common to unusual, great-tasting vegetables. Mattis will appeal to new gardeners who need a master to teach them the basics, but he'll also appeal to the seasoned growers who are looking for more complex techniques or higher-level insight. Mattis writes with a personable, helpful voice. He's funny, and he shares great stories as well. This book could only come from someone like Matt, who has grown each vegetable himself and truly loves gardening. Today's garden chore is to prepare your cold frames, your potting shed, and your greenhouse in preparation for fall, if you haven't already. Autumn sowing and growing time for late autumn greens, radishes, and other shoulder season crops is right now. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. September's birthday flower is the aster. Asters offer that happy yellow face encircled with rayed petals. Asters are part of the sunflower or daisy family. The aster is named from the Greek word for star. In the language of flowers, reflecting the changing season, it means farewell. Farewell to the lazy days of summer, to swimming pools, to picnics, and farewell to the summer harvest. There was a little anonymous poem about September and asters that was printed in the Bluff City News out of Kansas in 1903. Here's what it said. September's fields are golden, Her skies are azure fair, and in her beauty holden are gifts beyond compare. Who longs for Maytime blossoms? Who cares for roses sweet? When all September's asters are flowering at our feet. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up, and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.